Hello there, this is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com, and today we're talking more about Charlotte Mason for real moms. You know, today I had to make a note to myself. Note to self, never teach math on Mondays. You would think I would have learned that all these years, but I tell you what, Mondays for us is when we're just getting back in the groove. People are getting used to getting up early, and we may have been a little indulgent with junk food over the weekend, so tummies aren't the 100%. I'm sure you've dealt with this before, but then if I get really excited about math, that I've got these plans and everything, and everybody's like we have meltdowns. Okay, if you've ever had a meltdown over math with your kids, not you, hopefully not you, but if your kids have ever had a meltdown over math, please raise your hand, okay? I don't know, what is about math? I don't know. Maybe in some families math isn't a problem. But anyway, so I got real ambitious, real excited, and people just were not there with me today. So yeah, I won't do that one again for a long time until I forget. But anyway, I'm a real mom with 15 children, and they're all real children, and I've been homeschooling for 30 years, and I love the Charlotte Mason method because it was the way that God set me free from a lot of my schoolish ideas, which I still have to fight against sometimes, but it helped me to rethink some of the things that I thought, some of the ways I thought you had to do things. And today we're talking specifically about art and music. Now, I think for most of us, we think of education mostly the 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic with some history, and especially science is very important these days. However, art and music is kind of over here. Sports, to some people sports is more important, intramural athletic things like, playing soccer or football or baseball or whatever or gymnastics, whatever your kids are into. But when we think of art and music, that's something, those are for artistic people or creative people or whatever. But Charlotte Mason didn't see it that way. And I don't see it that way either. I know that we have kind of an artistic, creative bent in our family, but I think a lot of us can appreciate the beauty of art and the beauty in music. Certainly we're all affected by music in one way or another, either negatively or positively. And I think that when we homeschool our children, when you educate any children, even in the public school arena or private schools or whatever, you have an opportunity when children are young to develop tastes for higher things. Children that are never, I'll just use broccoli as an example. When all of my older children were small, I wanted them to be able to eat broccoli. So I introduced it at early ages, and I did not call it broccoli. Broccoli sounds like a yucky food word. So what I did is I would give them raw broccoli, and I would set it up, and I would say, look, I'm going to give you something special today. We're going to eat little trees, right? And I showed them how that looks like they have trunks, and they have branches, and they have these little leaves on the ends. And so my children thought that was the coolest thing. And of course, we dipped in little ranch dressing or whatever, and they just loved that idea. So that when they were around their little friends, and their little friends would say, I hate broccoli, don't you? They'd say, well, I hate broccoli too. And then they would walk and they would come home and just eat their trees. But they developed a taste for that, and they never had a problem with it. Well, it doesn't work with everything, but if we take the time to introduce the finer, more, shall we say, refined. I just said finer. I know refined and finer are the same thing. I'm not talking about the snobbery, hoity-toity, we're better than you, so we like the better things. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the nobility of the Creator as putting in us a desire for the more noble things. Especially when we're born again, we naturally want to gravitate to the higher, better things. Now, this is a tenet of Charlotte Mason, that every child is not a machine. They weren't little particles put together and smushed together and then put and stamped, but we were instead created by a loving Father, and we are as unique as snowflakes. Each one of us is a different type of person, and that we were made to love beauty and love good things and pure things. That's what God intended for us. That's what He had Adam and Eve doing in the garden, right? He gave them this beautiful garden. He didn't put them in a garbage dump, did He? He didn't put them in the gutter. He didn't have them live on Skid Row. That's not where He placed them. He placed them in a beautiful garden with rivers and trees, and they're trees with fruit. And He put the animals were there, and Adam was able to touch and be around all the animals. God wanted Adam to enjoy them. He had Adam name the animals. The Bible says that God gave us all things freely to enjoy. And when you watch a sunset or anything like that, you realize that God at His heart is an artist, and He paints a sky for us every day. And so when we look at art and we listen to music, we want to make sure that it is full of beauty and nobility and helps us to think of the higher things and the better things. And we want to take our children from early ages and introduce these higher and better things. Now, not all good music has to have been composed before 1850. Not all good art has been created before then. There's lots of good art and music that has been done, neoclassical art and music. I have a son who's 24, and he introduces me to new artists all the time, really good ones. However, there has been a time where man kind of purposely wanted to get away from the beauty of God and go below the line of despair, as Francis Schaeffer calls it. And some of the art that has been created has not been noble or beautiful or reminiscent of the Creator and His intents for mankind. So, in order to understand that, I want to suggest something to you, and that is to watch the video series by Francis Schaeffer called How Should We Then Live? It'll explain a lot of what I'm talking to you about today, about going below the line of despair. Also, if you want to really take and have a head challenge, read some of his works. We have the complete works of Francis Schaeffer, and reading those works really makes you think about the things that we call beauty and the things we call art currently. So just take a few minutes while you're washing your dishes, listen to it, listen to the video series. While you're in your car driving around, listen to it on YouTube, whatever. But it's really good. It's really worthwhile before you start talking about art and music with your children. Now, as we're going to talk about a method of introducing good art and good music to children, the worst thing that I have ever done is try to sit down and teach it as a subject or make it a thing. Instead, what I've done is I just play good classical music while we're cleaning the house, or just before people go to take a nap, or or while we're doing copy work. I'll turn it on, and then we'll talk about the different composers. I'll say, now who did that? That sounds like, oh, this is Bach. Children will play some Bach, or we'll play some Mozart. We'll talk about the differences in the times they lived. And I don't make it a thing. I don't say, today, children, we are going to have a lesson on Bach. Please take out your notebooks, turn to page 32, and begin taking these notes. Okay, that's the worst thing I could ever do. But music has a natural way of making children want to have an attachment. So I utilize that attachment, and we talk about the beauty. We talk about the different, what made that sound? Was that an oboe or a clarinet? Whatever. So we go and we talk about the orchestra then. We will get one of our reference books out and we'll find out, okay? We do that in a natural way. And then the attachment is all theirs, and then they think it's their idea to study it, and then they go on and they start studying it themselves, and then I worked myself out of a job. Okay, so, and I also do that with art. Like, I don't know if you can see right here, this is a print of a Monet, okay? And my husband is an artist. His grandmother was an artist. We have a lot of artists. My kids are artists now. But what we did was we surrounded ourselves with lots of art. One easy way to do this, if you don't have a lot of money, there are a couple of ways to go about it. The cheapest, easiest way is to check out the huge art print books from the library, bring them home and throw them on the table and leave them and don't touch them. And let the kids come around and they go, oh, what's this book? And they start looking at this. Whoa. And then talk about, oh, that's watercolor, that's oils, like that. And lots of times I'll have a little bit about the artist in there, and that's like Winslow Homer. I think we have some, and see, you can find these lots of times at garage sales and at the Goodwill, because people buy them thinking they're, and they give them away, and then you buy it for $1, and then you pile them up and you stack them up, and the kids grab them and they look at them and they're all enthused, and then there you go. There's your picture study. I know that Charlotte Mason says you have to sit down and take a picture, and everybody looks at the picture and has observations, and you write about it. Okay, I don't like doing that. What I like doing is just naturally introducing that and having everybody enjoy it. Sometimes we'll say, hey, let's try to draw that or something. And then having lots of watercolors and different things around, and having times when we can mess around with them. Okay, so that's my take on the subject. I hope this helps you. I hope it sets you free so that you don't think, oh no, now one more thing, I can't get through math on Mondays. How am I going to do an artist study or a picture study once a week? I always had good ambitions of doing something like that. Thankfully for my children, I never really quite got around to it. That was good for them. I think they thanked me for that. Well, hope this helps you. Hope this is a good explanation. You have a good day. Bye-bye.